The Adventures of Silvyn, the Magic Squirrel. Deep within the heart of the emeraldwood forest, a land untouched by mortal hands, lived Silvyn, a magical squirrel unlike any other. Her fur shimmered like spun silver, and her tail sparkled with flecks of gold that danced in the sunlight. Silvyn was no ordinary creature. She was born under the light of a rare celestial alignment, a phenomenon that occurred once every 1,000 years, imbuing her with a spark of ancient magic. The emeraldwood forest was a haven for magical beings. Unicorns grazed in moonlit meadows, their hooves leaving trails of stardust. Fireflies as bright as lanterns floated in the air, whispering riddles to those who would listen. The trees themselves were alive, their branches shifting to create pathways or block them, depending on their mood. Silvyn was the guardian of this enchanted realm, a role passed down through generations of magical squirrels. The Crystal Acorn. One sunny morning, Silvyn was foraging for enchanted nuts in the Whispering Grove when she stumbled upon something extraordinary, a crystal acorn glowing faintly with an inner light. As she approached, the ground beneath her paws vibrated gently, and she heard a voice emanate from the acorn. "Silvyn," it said, "I am the heart of the forest. Darkness stirs in the northern shadows, threatening the balance of magic. You must take me to the celestial tree at the forest's edge, where I can be restored to my full strength." Silvyn's eyes widened. She had heard tales of the celestial tree, a mythical oak that reached into the heavens, its leaves shimmering with the colors of the aurora. It was said to be the source of all magic in the forest, but no one had seen it for centuries. Without hesitation, Silvyn scooped up the crystal acorn and tucked it safely into the pouch around her neck. She set off on her journey, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Allies and trials. As Silvyn ventured deeper into the forest, she encountered a host of magical creatures eager to assist her. First was Thistle, a mischievous brownie who could craft illusions from thin air. Despite his prankster nature, Thistle's cunning proved invaluable when they had to outwit a band of shadow goblins guarding a narrow bridge. Next, they were joined by Nyra, a phoenix with feathers that glowed like embers. Nyra had been injured during a skirmish with the goblins, and Silvyn used her magic to heal the phoenix's wing. In gratitude, Nyra vowed to aid her in her quest, providing a source of light and warmth during their perilous nights. Their journey was fraught with challenges. In the Mistvale swamp, they faced a cunning water wraith that tried to lure them into its depths with haunting melodies. Silvyn's sharp mind and quick reflexes saved the group, as she used her magic to summon a burst of wind that dispersed the wraith's form long enough for them to escape. The Shadowed Grove. Finally, the trio reached the Shadowed Grove, the final barrier before the celestial tree. Here, the darkness was thick and oppressive, and the air was filled with whispers of despair. Silvyn's fur bristled as she sensed the presence of the Shadow King, a malevolent spirit intent on corrupting the forest's magic. The Shadow King appeared as a towering figure cloaked in writhing shadows, his eyes glowing with malevolence. "Foolish squirrel," he sneered. "You think you can restore the heart of the forest? Its power will be mine." A fierce battle ensued. Thistle used his illusions to distract the Shadow King, while Nyra unleashed fiery blasts that illuminated the dark grove. Silvyn, clutching the crystal acorn, summoned all her courage and leapt onto the Shadow King's shoulder. With a burst of her own magic, she created a beam of pure light that pierced the shadows, forcing the king to retreat with an agonized roar. The Celestial Tree. With the Shadow King vanquished, the trio pressed onto the Celestial Tree. It stood in a clearing bathed in ethereal light, its trunk glistening like silver and its leaves shimmering with every color of the rainbow. Silvyn placed the crystal acorn at the base of the tree, and a surge of energy rippled through the forest. The celestial tree glowed brighter and brighter, and the magic of the emerald wood was restored. The trees whispered their gratitude, and the creatures of the forest emerged from their hiding places to celebrate. Silvyn looked around at her companions and the vibrant forest she had saved. She felt a deep sense of pride and belonging. Though her adventure had come to an end, she knew her role as the forest's guardian would continue, and she was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. From that day on, Silvyn was hailed as a hero, her name whispered with reverence by every creature in the emerald wood. And though the forest's magic was safe once more, the silver-furred squirrel kept her eyes on the horizon, ready for the next call to adventure. Chapter 2: The Whispering Winds. The days after Silvyn restored the heart of the forest were peaceful, but the emerald wood was never without its mysteries. The celestial tree's renewed magic brought light and life back to the forest, and its creatures celebrated with dances, songs, and feasts. Silvyn, however, noticed something unusual in the winds that brushed through the treetops, a whispering voice that only she seemed to hear. One crisp morning, as the sun painted the sky in hues of gold and lavender, Silvyn perched on a high branch of the celestial tree. The winds had carried her a peculiar message over the past nights, a name she couldn't ignore, Irindor. It sounded ancient and full of meaning, though she could not place its origin. Thistle, she called, glancing down at her brownie friend, who was busy fashioning a tiny kite from fallen leaves. Do you know of anything, or anyone, called Irindor? Thistle's pointed ears twitched, and his eyes widened slightly. Irindor. That's a name out of old legends, he said, dropping his project. It's said to be a lost city, hidden in the deepest parts of the forest. Some say it's where the winds themselves are born. Silvyn's tail flicked thoughtfully. The winds are calling me there, she said. I feel it in my fur. Thistle frowned, and Nyra, who had been basking in the sunlight nearby, stretched her fiery wings. If the winds are guiding you, Silvyn, you should listen. But tread carefully, no one who seeks Irindor returns unchanged. A trail of whispers. The next day, Silvyn set out to follow the whispering winds, with Thistle and Nyra at her side. The journey took them into parts of the emerald wood few dared to venture. The trees grew taller and darker, their branches intertwining to form an almost impenetrable canopy. The air was thick with magic, and strange sounds echoed around them, the low hum of invisible wings, the chime of unseen bells. The forest feels different here, Thistle said, his voice low. It's as if it's alive in a way I've never felt before. Silvyn nodded. Her silver fur tingled with the energy of the place. The whispers grew louder, guiding her toward a narrow path lined with glowing mushrooms. The path spiraled downward into what appeared to be an ancient valley, shrouded in perpetual twilight. As they descended, the group came across a peculiar sight, a massive stone archway covered in glowing runes. In the center of the archway hung a shimmering veil of wind, rippling like water. This must be the entrance to Irindor, Nyra said, her voice hushed. But how do we pass through? Silvyn stepped forward, the whispers urging her on. She placed a paw against the wind-veiled portal, and a soft voice spoke directly into her mind. Prove your worth, keeper of the heart. The trial of the four winds. The moment Silvyn touched the portal, the world around her dissolved into a swirl of colors and sounds. When the whirlpool of magic subsided, she found herself standing in a vast arena. The air was heavy with anticipation, and before her stood four towering figures, each representing one of the four winds, north, south, east, and west. You seek Erindor, rumbled the north wind, its voice deep and commanding. But the city is not for the faint of heart. Only those who master the winds may enter, added the east wind, its voice sharp and swift. The south wind, warm and gentle, spoke next. Each of us will test you. Succeed, and the path to Erindor will be yours. Silvyn swallowed hard, her courage steeling itself. I accept your challenge, she said. The first test, the gale's might. The north wind summoned a furious gale, its icy force threatening to knock Silvyn off her paws. Withstand the power of the gale, or be swept away, it bellowed. Silvyn dug her claws into the ground, focusing her magic to anchor herself. She called upon her affinity with the winds, redirecting the force around her like a stream flowing around a stone. The gale howled in frustration, but Silvyn stood firm. The second test, the whirlwind's dance. The east wind conjured a whirlwind, its sharp gusts creating a maze of slicing air currents. Navigate the chaos with grace, or be torn apart, it hissed. Silvyn leapt into the whirlwind, her movements quick and agile. Her shimmering tail acted as a guide, catching the faintest shifts in the air. She danced through the storm, her steps light and precise, until she reached the center. The third test, the breeze's wisdom. The south wind presented a softer challenge. Find the hidden truth within my gentle breeze, it said, its voice like a lullaby. The air around Silvyn filled with faint whispers, 1,000 voices murmuring at once. She closed her eyes and focused, letting her heart guide her. Amid the cacophony, she discerned a single, clear message: follow your instincts, for they are true. The final test, the tempest's fury. The west wind unleashed a tempest, its raw power shaking the very ground. Harness the fury, or be consumed, it roared. Silvyn stood her ground, her silver fur glowing brighter as she absorbed the tempest's energy. She channeled the power through her body, shaping it into a brilliant burst of light that dispersed the storm. When the tempest subsided, the four winds bowed their heads in unison. You have proven yourself, keeper of the heart, they said. Erindor awaits. The city of winds. The arena dissolved, and Silvyn found herself back at the portal. This time, the shimmering veil parted, revealing a breathtaking city suspended in the air, its towers and spires made of crystal and light. The winds carried her forward, whispering words of welcome. Erindor was more magnificent than she could have imagined, a place where the winds danced freely and magic pulsed through every stone and stream. Yet Silvyn knew her journey was far from over. She had unlocked the path to Erindor, but its secrets, and its challenges, were only beginning to reveal themselves. Chapter 3, Secrets of Erindor. Erindor was unlike anything Silvyn had ever imagined. The city floated among the clouds, its crystalline structures shimmering with every color of the spectrum. Bridges made of pure wind connected towers that seemed to hum with ancient magic. Spiraling currents of air carried glowing wisps, sentient creatures made of light, through the streets. As Silvyn stepped onto the smooth, glass-like ground, the winds swirled around her in a warm embrace. Thistle and Nyra followed, their eyes wide with awe. This place feels alive, Nyra whispered, her fiery feathers glowing brighter in the magical atmosphere. A gentle breeze brushed against Silvyn's fur, carrying with it a melodic voice. Welcome, keeper of the heart. The city has awaited your arrival for centuries. The voice belonged to a wisp larger and brighter than the others. Its form shifted constantly, flickering between shapes, a bird, a star, and finally a humanoid figure made of pure light. I am Zephyris, guardian of Erindor. You have passed the trials of the four winds, proving your worth. but your journey here has only just begun. The Legend of the Windstone. Zephyrus guided Silvyn and her companions to the Hall of Echoes, a grand chamber at the city's center. The walls pulsed with ancient runes, and the air resonated with faint whispers of stories long past. "There is a reason the winds called you here," Silvyn Zephyrus said, his voice like the rustle of leaves. "Irindor thrives on the Windstone, a gem of unparalleled power that sustains both the city and the balance of the forest. But the Windstone is no longer safe." The wisp gestured, and an image appeared in the air, a dark, crackling force consuming the radiant gem at Irindor's core. A shadowy force known as the Maelstrom has infiltrated the city. It seeks to corrupt the Windstone, turning Irindor's power to chaos. If the Windstone falls, so too will the Emerald Wood and all its magic. Silvyn's tail twitched anxiously. "How can I stop the Maelstrom?" Zephyrus flickered, his form growing dim. "The Maelstrom is cunning and elusive. It hides within the Tempest Spire, the tallest tower in the city, where the winds rage uncontrollably. To face it, you must first unlock the secrets of the Windstone and awaken its true power." The fractured key. Zephyrus explained that the Windstone's power was sealed by an artifact known as the fractured key, which had been split into 3 shards and hidden across Irindor. "Find the shards, and you can restore the key. Only then can you channel the Windstone's magic to confront the Maelstrom." Silvyn nodded, determination in her eyes. "Where do we begin?" "The shards are guarded by the ancient stewards of Irindor," Zephyrus said. "Seek the Vault of Whispers, the Galaforge, and the Singing Pinnacle. Each will test your courage and skill." The Vault of Whispers. Their first destination was the Vault of Whispers, a hidden chamber buried deep beneath Irindor. The entrance was concealed behind a waterfall of shimmering air, which parted only when Silvyn whispered her true name, something she had never shared with anyone. Inside, the vault was a labyrinth of mirrored corridors. The walls reflected endless versions of Silvyn, Thistle, and Nyra, each distorted and strange. Faint whispers filled the air, growing louder with every step. "What are they saying?" Thistle asked, his voice uneasy. "Their memories," Silvyn said, her ears twitching. "Fragments of those who sought the shard before us." At the labyrinth's heart, they found the first shard, suspended in a pedestal of glowing crystal. As Silvyn reached for it, a ghostly figure appeared, an ethereal fox with eyes like the night sky. "I am the keeper of the vault," the fox said. "To claim the shard, you must confront your own doubts." The room darkened, and shadows swirled around Silvyn, taking the form of her greatest fears: failure as the forest's guardian, losing her friends, and being consumed by the Maelstrom. Silvyn closed her eyes, drawing on the courage she had forged during her past adventures. "I am more than my fears," she said firmly. Her silver fur glowed with magic, dispelling the shadows. The fox nodded in approval and vanished, leaving the shard behind. The Galaforge. The second shard lay within the Galaforge, a cavernous workshop where the winds were shaped into tools and weapons. Here, they met Orion, a hulking griffin with feathers of steel. "To claim the shard, you must prove your strength and skill," Orion said, presenting them with an enormous anvil. "Forge a weapon from the raw winds." Nyra's flames softened the winds into malleable ribbons of energy, while Thistle used his illusions to shape them into a blade. Silvyn infused the creation with her own magic, binding the winds into a glowing sword. Orion roared with approval. "You have shown true mastery. Take the shard, and may it guide you." The Singing Pinnacle. The final shard rested atop the Singing Pinnacle, a spire that resonated with melodies carried by the winds. The climb was treacherous, with sudden gusts threatening to knock them into the abyss below. At the summit, they encountered Lyriel, a harp-winged creature who spoke in song. "The shard is yours if you can harmonize with the winds." Lyriel played a haunting melody, and Silvyn, Nyra, and Thistle joined in, creating a symphony of fire, illusion, and magic. The winds swirled in delight, and the shard appeared, glowing with radiant light. The reforging. With all three shards in hand, the group returned to the Hall of Echoes. Zephyrs guided them in reforging the fractured key, which pulsed with renewed energy. "The key is whole, and the Windstone's true power is within your reach," Zephyrs said. "But beware, the Maelstrom will not give up its claim without a fight." Silvyn's fur bristled, but her gaze was steady. "I won't let the forest or Erindor fall. We'll face the Maelstrom together." As the winds howled in anticipation, Silvyn and her companions prepared to ascend the Tempest Spire, where their greatest challenge awaited.